In this world of AI, people want authentic connection. They want authentic video. They want real people talking about products in their language, in their home environments, or, whilst they're grabbing a coffee in the morning. So if you're listening to this and you're in the marketing department for an e-commerce brand, or you head up a marketing for an e-com brand, put aside budget, take it out of your ad spend and allocate it to real content creators, not influencers, to create the ads for you.
You're listening to the Keep Optimizing podcast to increase your traffic, improve your conversion rates, and grow your profits.
Hello and welcome. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this e-commerce marketing focused podcast. If you're not familiar with our format, well, we release 5-episode mini-series that dive deep into one e-commerce marketing topic. It could be channels like email or SEO or Facebook ads, or a big topic like acquisition, retention, or analytics. In each of the episodes, new ones released on Wednesdays, I get to interview a different expert who explore the latest advice on making it work for you. And then, after each 5-episode mini-series, we take a week off to give you time to take action on what you've learned. At the moment, we've been picking up our meta ads thread, and this is our final episode on meta ads, where we will be continuing our exploration of creative with the brilliant past guest, Aggie Meroni. This is the last in the series, so remember there won't be an episode next week to give you time to catch up on any of the series you missed, share with your team, and most importantly, take action. Now, with all the changes to meta ads in the last 12 months, a number of myths have sprung up about creatives and how to win the game that just are not true. Lucky for us, Aggie is here to break them down for us, so brace yourselves for the 6 biggest myths in the world of meta ads creative and a huge quantity of advice on how to get your creatives and thus your meta ads accounts performing really well. Make sure you listen right to the end of the episode, because Aggie is giving some awesome answers in the Quickfire Insider Tips round, so you don't want to miss out on that.
The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Grunes. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, so I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing, they're easy to toss in my bag on the go, plus they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA and FSA, eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with code podcast at grunes.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
In this episode, I'm chatting with meta ads expert Aggie Meroni. Aggie is the founder and CEO of White Bee Digital, a paid social agency supporting e-commerce businesses as they scale. And she's also the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Crack the Code, the Strategic Meta Ads Framework to Scale Your E-commerce Brand. Hello, Aggie.
Hi, Chloe. Thanks so much for having me back.
Always a pleasure to chat to you and to have you on the show. How have things been since we last caught up, which was way back in February 25?
Well, I think it's safe to say that a lot has changed in meta ads since we last spoke. I think it's gone about 180 on the environment that we were in last year.
Because we were kind of like, creative was becoming important early last year, but it somewhat increased, hasn't it, we've fair to say?
Absolutely. So the algorithm changes started about December before we spoke last. And there was kind of the impact of that was kind of trickling through the last time we spoke. But I'd say we're full speed ahead now. It's a totally different world. We're on a new normal. And that's what we're going to kind of dive into today, because there is a lot of misinformation flying around. I think a lot of brands are feeling a little bit panicky. Resources are strained already and budgets and so on. So it's kind of like, how do we position ourselves in this new normal of meta creatives?
Well, in a minute or two, we will be going through the 6 key myths that people are hearing that aren't really true. So prepare to be massively helped by all of that, everyone. But I can't not ask you about the book. Huge congrats on getting it out there, getting it published. And you've had some amazing feedback on it. Tell us a little bit about it before we go into the myths.
Yes. So last September, I launched my book about meta ads for e-commerce brands. And the reason I launched it was because over the last 6 years, I have heard the same questions asked time and time again. And this isn't just from startups. We're talking CMOs that maybe have a more analog marketing background, or maybe, they're new to e-commerce, or it's a different type of environment now, e-commerce, to 6 years ago. Things change fast. And if you're at the strategic level and you're not in the weeds, you can feel like you lose touch a bit. So this is for anyone that has their finger in the meta ads pie at any e-commerce brand. All the questions that you were too scared to ask, things that people have told you and you're like, is that actually true? I cover everything in that book. And I also kind of cover this new creative world we're in with our creative strategy framework. So it gives you step by step how you can organize your own strategy in your e-commerce business, which is a huge thing now. In ads, you can't really function with meta ads or succeed with meta ads without that.
Yeah, it's such a huge shift, and I know it's derailed many people, and it's hard to get your head around. Something that was so straightforward, was meta ads ever straightforward, has become so completely and utterly different. So I can tell exactly why you're getting such great reviews on the book. We're going to be talking about the myths that are out there around what creative you do and don't need at the moment. Can we just clarify what creative and ad formats etc. we're talking about here? Because I think my head immediately goes video. Are we just talking video? Or are we talking about other things as well before we get into the 6?
It's a good thing to clarify straight away. So when we're talking about ad creatives, we're talking about the visual elements of the ad. So whether that's a static, whether it's a video. For e-commerce, obviously, we have collection ads, which are incredible for us. Anything, slideshows, all formats, whether you're doing story formats, Instagram feed, Facebook feed, so any size, anything visual, that's what we're talking about today.
Awesome. So what's our first myth to bust?
So can I just give context for this? So these are myths I've personally heard, and I've just gone, that's not actually true, is it? So I just thought there's a lot of information being kind of broadcast on places like X and LinkedIn. A lot of it is contradictory or, conflicts with other advice that you might have heard. And I think it's really important to understand why those myths are being said and by who, because who you listen to and the type of e-commerce brands they're working with or that they're running are going to massively impact the advice that they're sharing. And that is really important to bear in mind.
It's like that thing we should all be doing better on the internet is looking at who's actually telling us these things and is it relevant to us? Is it not relevant to us? And I think that's been such a challenge in digital marketing ever since it came along was, is this even e-commerce advice? Can be a real hiccup for people.
Absolutely. I think something that this big shift that's happened in the creative space or meta ads, it kind of touches on the first myth, which shall I read it out, Chloe?
Yeah, let's do it.
So if your ads aren't working, in inverted commas, you have a creative problem. So now that creative is this big thing, the elephant in the room when it comes to meta ads, if your ads aren't working or you're not hitting the goals that you've set for yourself, the first thing people say, oh, it's your creative. You got rubbish ads. That's why they're not working. Okay. It's easy to blame the creatives. And, sometimes it's true. Maybe you're not doing the right things, which we can cover what the right things are. But it's the scapegoats now. Everything is the creative's fault. When actually, I've seen many situations, because we audit accounts very thoroughly before we work with them. And one brand I turned down last week would have been our biggest client ever. And I turned them down because it was not a creative problem. They were willing to invest budget on the creatives. They had best-selling products, tested products. But when I looked at the numbers on their website, their conversion rate kept declining. So no matter how great the ads ended up being after we'd applied our creative strategy, we could not fix the conversion rate. And that at the end of the day would determine whether they hit their goals or not, because we forecast everything. So the fundamentals weren't right, and it was not an ads problem. There was a problem with the websites. Now, there are lots of things that can impact whether your ads work or not, and there's always a reason. Creatives are just one part of it. Obviously, there's your website, there's your offer. So what are you selling? Do you have your numbers correct? So this was another thing. They hadn't calculated what their target MER had been, looked at their contribution margin, all that kind of thing. So numbers were out of whack with what they were expecting to achieve from the ad spend. So all these different factors play into why you might not be hitting your goals. So if someone just takes a quick glance at your ads library and says it's your creatives, you need to take a bit of a deeper dive. It's not that simple.
I can imagine some brands have gone, oh my God, we need to do a full rebrand and come up with a whole new identity, thinking they've got a creative problem when actually it's a conversion problem, or it's they're not tracking it in the right way or feeding the right information in, or any of those many, many other issues we can have.
It's in a way, we've kind of gone back to the fundamentals of e-commerce because, you know, there's always like this bright, shiny thing somewhere. There's always a new hack or a new way to make, you know, some money. But at the end of the day, it comes to, are you attracting the right kind of audience? And the targeting is not in your media buying anymore, you know, in the settings, it's in your ads. So in the creatives, that's one part of it. Are you attracting the right people for the right cost to your website? And then is that website converting them at the correct rate for you to be profitable? And then are you retaining them and making them come back so they buy from you again? Now, every company has their own metrics that they need to hit. Sometimes it's a one-off purchase. So if it's a very high-end outdoor furniture brand, or maybe it's like outdoor kitchens or whatever it is at like £20,000, you're probably not going to have someone buy another £20,000 kitchen from you next summer. So, you know, every company has their own cadence and what they need to achieve from their customers, but creative always gets blamed. So I'd say just be wary if someone blames your creative. It's not always the case that that's the problem.
And I'm going to resist the urge to go off on the we're being taken back to the fundamentals point, because, gosh, I could talk about that for the rest of the afternoon. Instead, I'm going to bring us to our second myth, which is almost the opposite of what we've just been talking about in some ways. And I think this is one which has stopped a lot of brands in their tracks and made them just give up completely, which is that you need to test 50 creatives a week or a month. I mean, I think I've heard someone say 100 a week as well. It's just, I mean, I was, you know, wondering if this was true myself, but it's a scary number when you hear that, isn't it? The you must have 50 new creatives a week type thing.
So I lose track of how many times I've heard this on LinkedIn. And I think sometimes we're all in a bit of an echo chamber. So someone will say it, they won't really, you know whether it's true or not, but they then repeat it, and then someone else repeats it. And it's like this big Chinese whispers that happens across social media that this must be true. So the reason I've added this to my list is because I was at an event last week, and it was for e-com founders. And someone approached me after and said, what tool can I use to create 50 ads a week, new ads a week? And I was like, how much are you spending? And they're like, £100 a day. I was like, there is absolutely no need for you to be creating 50 ads a week. Now, the reason that some people are saying these numbers is because they're spending multiple six figures or millions a month on meta ads. You need to remember that you have to adjust the volume of ads according to your budget. Now, that may sound like the most obvious thing in the world, but that context is missing from most of the posts that we see online. And also, I see lots of calculators, and I've even tried to create them myself. So this is no shade on people saying, you know, roughly how many ads do I need per ad spend? Now, there is no magic number for this, unfortunately. I wish I could just say black and white. If you're spending 10 grand a month, this is how many ads you need. If you're spending 500,000 a month, this is how many ads you need. And the reason the calculators are pointless on this is you won't know until you start running your own ads at how quickly they burn out. Some ads are going to run for longer and hit your goals. Some won't even get any spend. Now, this is another nuanced thing that's happened with this new algorithm update. Some ads take all your budget, and others don't get, you know, a penny spent on them, which obviously is very frustrating if you're a brand that has budgeted for 50 ads and maybe 3 or 4 of them get shown to the world. You're like, what a waste of budget that was. So I would say be cautious about those numbers. Be highly intentional with the ads that you're creating. Everything should be research and data-based. It's not that you have a thought in the shower, get some inspiration. No shade on that either, because that was the way it was. You just have a great idea on your commute to work, create the ad, launch it, see what happened. There wasn't any real data behind it of your ideal customer or their beliefs or their pain points, motivations, objections, nothing. It's just a nice creative concept you thought about. Or you'd go and rip off all your competitors' ads in Ads Library. I also do not strongly recommend that either. And apart from being unethical, obviously, don't ever copy people. It's more like the blind leading the blind now. It doesn't mean those ads are doing well, especially in this new world. people aren't always doing full creative strategy. So you're thinking, oh, they look great, I'm going to do those, but they're not going to work. So you need to know who you're selling to, what your goals are, and have your creative system in place. And this is what is making and breaking brands now, making sure they have a repeatable creative process internally so they never run out of creative ideas for their ads. So everything is a system now. This is so different to how it used to be. So I think this is actually what's breaking brands now. They don't have this system in place, so it just seems like so overwhelming.
Yeah, it has to be new creative is part of business as usual, analysing the creative, working out what the new creative should be, conducting the research and so forth. So they've got that system in place. And I think I totally agree. The idea of a calculator, when you start to actually think about it, it's like, well, of course that's not going to work because it depends on, lead time to sale. It depends on the target customer base you're going. It depends on where you are in your ad journey. If you're finally going, right, we're going to build our creative system. I mean, I would assume at the beginning of the process, you're going to be doing a lot of testing and needing more creative to zone in on what works for your audience. And then it becomes somewhat more stable until you have a new idea from the data and then off you go again.
I'd say another thing that's massively flipped is before people would start with the visual part of the ad, but now the system is flipped. So you do your messaging first. So you do all your research, you look at your, not to plug the book, but if you just read my book, I'll go into this in detail. So you do your research, macro, so what's happening in the world, your niche, your business, your ad account, and so on. And that goes into your offers and everything. So you do a lot of work. So our system's 9 steps. The creative bit doesn't start till the 8th step. So there's a lot of work that happens before you even visually communicate what your message is, because the messaging is your targeting now. So before you could toggle on a few things in your targeting settings and away you go. That does not work now. Everything's broad targeting and the actual messaging is what the AI is scanning in your ads to match your ads to the people that are online. And that's how your ads get served. So if your ads are very vague, it's not very clear, who they're talking to, what their pain points are, your ads can't match to people. So it's actually, impacting the profitability of your ads. So once you understand the system and how that's changed, you then adapt how you work. And it's all about how you visually communicate a message. So you might have the same angle, but you communicate it 5 different ways. So you might have a video, a static, carousel, collection ad, all saying the same thing, but it all looks very different because the AI treats them as separate ads.
I think what we're saying here, or what Aggie's saying here, so she's the expert, I am not in this arena, is that you shouldn't be investing in 50 creatives a week. You should be investing in building the system that brings you the creatives. And I think that immediately, anyone says system or efficiency at the moment, we go to AI. So let's do the third myth, which is that AI-generated ad creatives are a quick solution to this creative problem.
So part 2 of the question I had at this event was, what tech or what AI can I use to create those 50 ads? And I was like, number 1, obviously it was a budget issue, but number 2, I said AI is not a quick solution because number 1, there are so many options to figure out which one to use and they change all the time. The AI's like systems or, software we were using 6 months ago is different to what we use internally now. And the thing is, it's never just one software or however you want to, one LLM or however you're going to call it, that will do everything for you. They might get the first draft for you, then you might have to go to Canva AI and edit it manually and then it's ready. So nothing comes out perfect. And if you're working with clients, so maybe you work with various e-com brands, every time they want a tweak, you have to manually do it usually because it doesn't quite fit what they had in mind. So I'd be very cautious about saying AI is going to solve your problems because it can actually, can create a rod for your own back. Suddenly you're trying to create 50 ads with this super prompt that someone shared on LinkedIn and you actually just get yourself in knots. And then you feel rubbish because you think, why can't I crack this? Obviously everyone else is managing to do it. But behind the scenes, agency people are talking to each other going, this isn't actually that quick to do. Yes, it's great for ideation. If your clients aren't too precious or, your brand is quite open to doing things that do not look polished and on brand, crack on. It can be brilliant in that sense. But if you're really particular and you need everything to be a certain way, it's definitely not the cheaper or quicker way to create your ads.
So again, it comes back to the whole thing of like AI isn't the solution. You need a problem that it can solve in the first place. But also it's the putting that effort in to do, I think it was the 7 or 8 steps of the 9-step piece where you're not yet creating anything, you're doing the research, which will then help you understand what you need to create. And maybe an AI tool can help you at that point, but it's all going to depend on your brand requirements, the tone of voice, the visual identity, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, if you literally go into, I don't know, Kling, which is like a video one, or Nano Banana 2, which does creative, say, this is a photo of the product, create me a meta ad. It's going to create something weird. You know, we all know how rubbish it, like, LLMs just aren't great at ads, full stop. Like, you really need to be in the driving seat and the strategist, and that it help them to implement things for you. I think things are getting easier with AI. I don't feel like I have to be as detailed in my prompting anymore as I used to, and I still get great results. But I think you need to really be comfortable with what you're trying to create with it before you kind of let the LLM loose on your ad creatives. I think it's always harder as well if you're creating it for someone else, because they may have a different idea of what they are looking for versus what you've created with it. So aligning expectations sometimes.
Oh, completely. And then our fourth myth is quite linked into this, which is that real UGC is dead when you can get AI UGC for a fraction of the cost.
I hear this so much. I actually think the opposite is true. So before we started recording, I was saying how things have changed so much for my agency at the moment. You know, now we have an on-retainer designer, video editor, so on. We actually also do the sourcing and management of UGC creators, which we never had to do before, because in this world of AI, people want authentic connection. They want authentic video. They want real people talking about products in their language, in their home environments, or, you know, whilst they're grabbing a coffee in the morning. You know, the Yapper ad, you know, people talking to camera, that's taken off. It's like doing really well now because people want to see people without makeup on, you know, just out for the gym or in their car, just having a chat about whatever they've just bought or what they're loving or what they bought someone. So I can understand the appeal of UGC created by AI, and it is getting better. Before it was really clear if it was an AI UGC content creator. When I speak to huge brands, they're big fans of it because they don't have to pay lots of different creators for it. They can just test concepts and scripts, and whichever works, they can then hire real people to replicate those ads with genuine content, maybe mashups and things like that. But I think it's really interesting how, you know, it's such a split world on this. But I personally see UGC getting stronger. Like, I'm seeing much more demand from brands that we're working with asking for real people. The founders themselves are also really against it because they say, we want to show that we're an authentic brand. We don't want, you know, because there is also a bit of a pushback from consumers. If they see something is trying to be real, but it's AI, they kind of don't trust the brand. Whereas if it's whimsical and on purposely AI, so you've got, you know, a gorilla flying through the sky or, you know, something really that could not be real, then people are open to it and it can do well in ads because people already, they mentally know it's not real. But if you're trying to hoodwink people or that's how they feel, the trust is broken. So we're saying to our clients now, because some of them have those brand ambassador schemes or they have like their customers that want to create content for them, which is great. But if you've ever worked in marketing for e-com, you're a founder, you're trying to get this, like this gold dust, it's actually really hard to get this from someone that is not a professional content creator because they don't understand the lighting, the compositions, the edits that have to happen to make it a piece of content that converts into sales. So if you're listening to this and you're in the marketing department for an e-commerce brand or you head up a marketing for an e-com brand, put aside budget, take it out of your ad spend and allocate it to real content creators, not influencers, to create the ads for you.
For me, there's two big parts about this. One, there's the potential brand lashback.
Backlash.
If you get, we're recording in the heat wave, everybody. You're going to have to give us both a break on this. You've got that kind of backlash that can come at you if you get found to be using fake UGC, which implies you don't have any actual UGC. But then you've also got the fact that as humans, our subconscious has a way of identifying what's authentic and what isn't authentic. like pictures with 10 fingers instead of 5 fingers on a hand and that kind of stuff. We might not logically actively see it, but our subconscious is going, that's not real. So there's that whole like psychological downgrade from it. And I think we've seen with blog content and written content that the stuff created by humans is outperforming. And I think we'll see exactly the same thing with the video. So yeah, it's definitely one to be very careful about, let's say.
I have to say one thing that, if it helps, that I find is very useful creating AI videos for ads is when you have little snippets that you can use in mashup edits. So maybe you have like a beauty product and you need like a short video to show like the oil in a skin follicle, or maybe you need to show like, how moisture absorbs into the skin, or like how oil in the hair kind of coats the hair or something like that. Those little scientific videos can work really well, or little clips of like, one of the ingredients that you have like in nature, to help tell the story. They can work really well. And I don't think anyone cares if those snippets aren't real, because they look like animations anyway. They can be created with AI. But I think when you're trying to replicate a human like person and they're giving a review of your product, you want it to be a real person, because then they could be lying about everything. It could be a terrible product. It might not work. It's just not the same.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, number 5 of our myths. Creative volume versus creative quality.
So I have an anecdote for this one. So I always see, again, on social media, people saying you have to have a huge volume of creatives. That's the only way you're going to find what works. And others are saying, actually, the quality is more important. So each ad is intentional. Each ad has its place in your ad account. Everyone has a theory, like you know why you've created it because it's going to have this outcome or touch on this pain point or whatever. I do think it's a mix of the two. I don't think, again, this is budget dependent. If you have huge budgets, I'm talking like high 6 figures to million a month, then obviously you're going to have a lot of ads every month. Probably like 400 or something. Like I'm talking huge volumes. Smaller advertisers, not that many, from 10 to maybe 30 ads a month, which again, if you're used to creating maybe 5 or 6 a month is a huge leap, but we're not talking 50 a week. Okay. So it's really important to be really well researched and then have your system in place. So you know that when you have these new angles that you're testing, that that, okay, you've got like a checklist. So it's like, okay, these are different formats we need, whether it's like video, UGC, carousel, all these different, formats for each angle. So you test by angle rather than by, I don't know, other ways that people test, like all videos or all carousels, because you want to test the message and how that's visually communicated. And then you'll find your winners. And that's how you can start iterating on your performance as well. It's not better or worse. And one example of this was an account we audited in December. They were spending 30K a month on ads. They had over 200 ads in the ad accounts. They were very, very not profitable. So they were making a huge loss every month. And the reason was every ad looked very similar with similar messaging. So they hadn't really tested anything new, but they had a huge volume of creatives. So this is the example I use to highlight what I mean when I say, yes, you can have high volume, but if all the ads are saying the same thing and they all look really similar, you're not really testing, you're just pumping the account full of ads.
Volume for the sake of volume.
Yeah.
If you haven't got that message yet, everybody, we are not doing volume for the sake of volume. You have to get the strategy and all the layers adding up to make sure you're making creative that's worthy of being tested. Let's jump straight into number 6, because this one had my brain spinning when you sent it over to me in many ways. So I'm fascinated to know what's going on with this one, Aggie. Number 6, static ads are the only way to test angles at volume.
So this is another myth that I hear all over the internet on social media, and it's something that I really don't agree with. So I understand the logic. So what that myth is that when you're spending at volume on Meta, so say you're spending 6 figures a month, the volume of ads you need to create is huge. And a lot of ways that this is tackled is you'll test the angle first. So you'll test the message. Is this message landing with my audience? And the argument is you can test quicker with static ads. Now, this makes sense because statics are quicker to create. You don't need any video editing. You don't have to be on location anywhere. You can take a pack shot and create something and you've got a static ad with a headline. In reality, some angles are just communicated better with video. So sometimes, for example, I always talk about the 5 stages of awareness. Most brands talk to the people that are most aware and ready to buy, so 5% of their audience. Whereas actually with meta ads, you're generating demand. So you need to talk to people that have no idea that you exist. And a lot of this is down to education. So people need to be taught what it is you solve, the problem you solve, or, a bit about your brand. And a lot of people respond better to video. So if you're only pumping in static ads into your ad account, test messaging, you're missing a massive opportunity. Now, I do think it's easier perhaps when you're a smaller brand, even though you have smaller budgets, because maybe you can be more intentional about those videos. Maybe you've got things you can mash up and you've got more bandwidth with a smaller budget. I know it doesn't sound logical, but I find that's the case when we work with brands with smaller budgets, that they can be more intentional about that mix. The bigger budgets, because it's such a volume game at that stage, I just do think there's a lost opportunity there, to talk through products and have different iterations of a founder ad, or have different demonstration videos or different unboxing videos, because you're going to hit different people with those videos than you would if you just had a picture.
Well, I'm sure there are some messages that it's almost impossible to deliver via a static ad. And there are some that work brilliant on a static ad. So I think we have to get away from thinking text ad, image ad, video ad is like a ladder. It's like, no, complete different things, different jobs. And therefore, if you want to test, you have to test with the right format for the right message.
I mean, just to give you an example of this. So quite a few of our clients in the past have sold gift boxes. So there'll be more premium price point, great at Christmas and things like that. And we have tested every single format going for those across all those clients in the past. The thing that wins, hands down, absolutely every time is video. A video of someone opening the box and someone, whether it's the founder or a fake gift recipient, opening the box with joy and explaining what each product is in that gift box. That outperforms everything. Every time we've run that for different brands, that is the format that works, because people want to really be confident that what they're getting, they're seeing all angles, every piece in that box, so that when they spend their money with the love for the gift for that person, there is no objection in their mind. They are confident that that is a perfect gift for the recipient. It's really hard to show that just in a static image. Because, there'll be things in there that you might need to pull out. Maybe it's a dressing gown, so you want to see how big the dressing gown is. Maybe there's a candle, so you want to see how the candle looks in someone's hand, so you know how big it is. You don't always get the economy of or the scale of things when you just see it in a static image. So I think my personal experience is, if you really want to test your ads, even when you're doing at volume, you need to have a framework in place to also be testing video when you're testing your messaging.
That's such a good example. It illustrates it so well. Aggie, so we've done our 6. I've got one more question for you before we head into the insider tips, which is, who should be creating the creative? Who should be setting the strategy? Because I've seen some people swear it should be the brand should do all the creation. Other people are like, well, the agency should do all the creation. What's your approach to this? Because I think this is somewhere where a lot of people get hung up as well, is how to actually create it.
This is such a good question. And I'd say if you'd asked me this a year ago, I'd have given you a totally different answer to what I'm about to give you now. So this is how much the landscape has changed. If you're a pure media buying agency, so you are, and I'm saying just because obviously media buying is not simple, but if you're just doing the media buying, so you're setting the settings, building the campaigns, it's impossible for you to set the strategy and to get the best results, because you should be in charge of everything. You should be doing your research on what the ad should be saying. The thing is, when it comes to the actual creation of the assets, sometimes the brand wants to do it and they have the budget internally. They'll have their own content team, social media team. That's fine, but they need to be briefed really strictly on what is needed for social ads. Because as we all know, ads on Meta are a different beast to what you would put on other platforms or, in print or on your website, emails, so on. I think sometimes it's best if the agency takes over everything. So we personally do now, and this is through trial and error, because we'd be briefing things. Our clients are becoming overwhelmed, saying we don't know how to actually create what you've asked us, despite great briefing, I might add. But if you're not doing it day to day and you're having to add more work onto your in-house team, that is really overwhelming on them to suddenly have loads of extra work to do. So it's how do they fit that into their already demanding jobs? So now we just take over. We just say we need raw clips of X, Y, Z. We need these kind of shots. If they have photo shoots booked in, we'll say, please let us know so we can brief you on the shots we need. Or, we're going on location. Brilliant. So, for example, stuff that always gets left off but is so critical for paid social is close-ups. People almost want to feel like the product's coming out of the screen at them. They want to see it as if they're looking at it themselves, not from far away. And that's always missed when you do like a more sort of editorial type of shoot. So there are some shots that can be really specific for ads. So when that's missing, it's actually really hard for anybody to execute properly. But I would say now, if your agency is only doing media buying and they're leaving you to come up with all your creative strategy and all the creation so they can just build the ads for you, I would say that is going to put you on the back foot. And we are being approached by brands now that's the case. Their agency aren't briefing them and they're feeling a bit lost. So we take over that whole process. And a lot of e-com meta ads agencies are moving to that now because they want the control. Because obviously, if your ads do well, your clients are happy and they stay with you. You don't want to be stressed. You don't want your clients to be stressed. You want everyone to get great results. So that's why a lot of ad agencies are now taking over the creative as well.
It does seem like if you're not having input into the creative as the person running the account that you're stumbling blind, basically. I don't know how you can, when your biggest lever is out of your control, how you could possibly do it. So
it's hard, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you for all that, Aggie. It's been great picking your brains about all of this. Listeners, make sure you stay tuned right to the end because we are about to do Aggie's insider tips on meta ads, which are clearly, you can already tell, are going to be awesome. Okay, Aggie, so far we've gone deep into creative myth busting. Now you get to wow us with your insider knowledge about the whole of meta ads. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with meta ads, which of course does include everything we've already been talking about. Aggie, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's start with newbie advice. If we've inspired someone to take their first step, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
My advice to anyone that's completely new to meta ads is, number one, your ads are the last thing in your whole e-com business that you should be playing with. So what do I mean by that? Does your website convert? So that sounds like such a stupid question. There are obviously your friends and family that are going to buy from you because they love you and they want to support your business. But there comes a point where you'll milk them dry and you need to actually get some new customers. So once those new customers come, are they buying from you easily? So if you've got a conversion rate over 2%, do you have your email flow set up? This is so important. People do not buy the first time they see one ad. It could take months for them to buy from you. So you need to be able to capture emails so you can sell to them forever. Is your organic social optimized? Are you posting organically? The bane of everyone's life, but a necessary evil. Once that's all done, then you can start looking at ads. And that's when I would really strongly recommend, if you're going to be doing them yourself, you get trained, because it's very easy to lose money with like watching hacks on YouTube and stuff like that. Just pay for a course, learn how to do it properly, and then you've made a good investment into your business to learn, to actually generate sales for yourself. Because I see a lot of newbies trying to fudge their way through free training, and they just don't tell you what you need to learn in order to be profitable with it. So that would probably be my biggest advice.
Brilliant advice. Now, once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favourite way to improve performance?
So I do believe that the creative lever is obviously the biggest one when everything around your ecosystem is working. So I'm a big believer that if something isn't working, that there is a solution for it. You just have to know where to look. So the first things to check, your numbers. So your target cost per acquisition, your CAC. and your blended ROAS and contribution margin numbers? Are you confident that they are what they are? With all the volatility in energy prices, supply chain issues, costs of goods, etc., are the numbers you calculated before still relevant today? Because they could be different, and that will mean you're losing money without realising until it's too late. Do you have new content coming in all the time? So raw assets that you can make into new ads. And I would say the research that you do in your ads, redo it like at least quarterly. Because I know when you're a smaller brand, you don't have time to do this weekly or even monthly, but make sure you go deep at least once a quarter, because you will find new opportunities of things to talk about in your ads. And once you realise how to do it in this cycle that you redo it every now and again, you'll never run out of things to talk about in your ads. Because that's the biggest block that people have. It's like, I just don't know what to say. I've got a creative block. I don't know what messaging I need to talk about. So once you have this cadence set up of this cycle, you will never run out of ideas. So I'd recommend doing that.
Love that. Okay, if someone listening wants to learn more, is there one cheap or free resource you would recommend?
Well, you can come and follow me on Instagram. I'm usually sharing my kind of beginner content on Instagram. There's obviously Meta Blueprints. So that's their free Meta Ads training. I'd say that's brilliant for the kind of media buying side of Meta Ads. If you want to learn how to apply it into your own account, though, that's where it's limiting, because there's no one to ask or get feedback on any of the materials. But if you want to get a general idea of how Meta Ads work, that is the biggest free training that you can do on Meta Ads.
Love it. Okay, finally, it's crystal ball time. What's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months that we should be getting ready for?
This is maybe a little left field, I don't know, but this kind of touches on something we were talking about earlier. So even in the time of AI, and it's a bit of economic volatility at the moment, so people are trying to be as efficient as possible all the time. There's also this counter movement happening of real life connection, real people, authenticity, things that look a bit rough and ready, that aren't necessarily polished. Lean into that, because that's where we're going. I think that people are becoming more cynical with things that are easy to produce. So if there's something that's taking you a bit more time, a bit more thought, doesn't mean it has to be expensive, but, maybe you've gone into your back garden as opposed to having an AI background, those kinds of things, that is going to resonate more with your audience going forward, because we're starting to see that already in the ads that we're creating.
Love that. Bit of freedom, a little bit less time in hair and makeup.
Absolutely. We all love that.
You're speaking to me. Aggie, we are very nearly at the end of the show, so please let the listeners know where they can find out more about you and your business and get in touch.
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Aggie Meroni, or over on Instagram at whitebeedigital, and my website is whitebeedigital.com. And if you'd like some inspiration of different types of ads you could create for the different stages of awareness that we talked about earlier, you can find my Meta Ads Vaults in the show notes.
Straightforward as that, everybody. Aggie, thank you so much. It's always brilliant to have you as a part of our Meta Ads series, and you have wowed us with some amazing advice today. So huge thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Always great to get to learn a bit about Meta Ads from Aggie. And if you were confused, lost, not sure what to do with your creative strategy on Meta, I think you've got a lot to be getting on with there to really avoid those myths, those 6 myths we went through, and to really zone in on what you actually need. For me, it's all about strategy. The research that goes into working what ad you should create, being driven by that research to create the right type of ads, graphics, videos, etc. Only using AI if it's actually beneficial, which is not just about your time, it's about the quality of the output and the results of that output, but also considering the whole piece around your ads and how that's driving the results. What happens when they get to your website? Have you set yourself up for success in that way as well? Plus, then you've got the tracking and everything that we talked about with E.T. back in the first episode in this series, and lots of other stuff we've done in this series. So I think if once you've listened to these 5 episodes, you are so well set up for making your Meta Ads a huge success for you this year. Now, what else do I need to tell you? Oh, I need to tell you that you can get the links to everything we discussed, the full transcript of the episode, our important notes and more at keepoptimizing.com. You can also use the short link keepopt.com/the number of the episode to get to the right page too. When you get to the website, please do put yourself on our email list so you don't miss out on all the stuff we're up to help you improve your business. And thank you for tuning into this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. All 5 of our episodes revisiting the Meta Ads thread are now live. Think of it as your Get Me Up to Date on Meta Ads Fast masterclass. So if you haven't already, make sure you've listened to all 5. You can find them by scrolling up your podcast feed or use the short link keepopt.com/meta to find it all on the website. Our next masterclass topic is email marketing. Yes, we are revisiting the email marketing thread. You can catch that so far at keepopt.com/email. And make sure you tune in 2 Wednesdays' time to catch the start of our new dive into it all. Yes, no episode next week. So you have time to catch up on any episodes you missed from this series and, most importantly, make some progress, put into action some of what you've learned. That is the most important thing about this podcast. It's not listening and getting lots of ideas. It's actually taking action with them and making it make a difference in your business. So make sure you're subscribed to us or following us on your favourite podcast player so you don't miss out on what we've got coming up. And if you know someone who's particularly interested in improving their meta ads or email marketing performance, please do tell them that we are covering it because this show exists to help all of you improve your marketing. Have a great week and make sure you listen to the next episode so I can help you to keep optimizing your marketing.
Access everything Keep Optimizing at keepoptimizing.com. That's with an S, not a Z.